Time now for business, and France 24's Stephen Carroll. It's time for him, well, to get ready to come back down the mountain. Let's cross to the World Economic Forum in Davos. Stephen, how will Davos 2019 be remembered?
I think it's going to be mainly thought of as a rather muted version of the World Economic Forum, and that was really inevitable after last year when we had Donald Trump and Emmanuel Macron both making big flagship international speeches here at the World Economic Forum. So without them, this year was always going to feel a little bit different. The overriding feeling here is a sense of concern about what the year ahead will hold. We know the global economy is slowing down, but there have been warnings coming from many quarters that, a policy upset could spark another crash in the global economy and plunge us back into the days that we saw before the 2008 financial crisis. So there is definitely that concern is out there, although nothing clear emerging as what that big threat could be that could make things happen. There were still plenty of serious speeches. We had an interesting view, 3 different speeches on the future of Europe from Angela Merkel, Pedro Sanchez and Giuseppe Conte. We also heard China and the United States trade barbs over their trade war. And that's something that I've been discussing with Arancha Gonzalez. She's the executive director of the International Trade Center. That's a joint agency of the WTO and UN. We've been talking about that and some of the other big issues that came up at Davos. Let's take a listen.
I think what's important is the message that is coming from Davos, which is a warning to both of them that we need stability, that we need predictability, that we need them to come to an agreement, or at least to sit around the table to find solutions to the grievances, because what's at stake is growth for the global economy. And we saw the figures released by the IMF and by the United Nations just on Monday. The message is very clear to them both. Sit around the table, start a conversation, build a bit of trust. You will not be enough. It will not be enough to have at the table the US and China. Others will be necessary. Japan, the European Union, Canada, Mexico, Latin America, Africa, all of them will need to be also around the table. But at least this conversation has to start.
What's your impression of those conversations happening in Davos this year compared to previous years? Do you think that there's a better recognition of the importance of trade?
Well, compared to last year, where I saw a bit too much complacency for my taste, given what was already in a way predicted to happen. I thought business leaders, governments were a bit too complacent. And what happened during 2018 is that we saw a huge problem in the area of trade, the rivalry between the US and China, unilateral trade measures on the side of the US against basically half of the world, and this having an impact on the real economy. Not just a theoretical impact of what we read in the books, but a real impact on the economy. So I hope that starting 2019 and coming out of Davos, everybody understands that there are risks and that these risks need to be mitigated, that they need to build resilience. And in saying that, I'm not trying to be pessimistic about the forecast for the world economy of a global growth. What I think needs to be recognized is that risks are there, and it's better to manage these risks proactively than suffer the consequences of these risks exploding under our noses.
One of the big risks in the trade domain is going to be what happens with Brexit. We still have no idea what form the UK's departure from the EU will take or when it may happen. Is that causing concern, do you think, from the people you're speaking to here from a trade point of view?
Well, again, Brexit has been recognized by the IMF, by the United Nations. At the beginning of this week, reports were out of being one of the reasons for the downgrading of global growth, one of the reasons that is instilling instability, insecurity, uncertainty into the global economy. And I think this is not good. It's not good for the UK, but it's not good for the global economy either. But the problem is that the answer to the question today lies squarely in the UK. It does not lie here in Davos. It lies in London. It lies in an agreement, in finding a majority to deal with either of the options that are on the table. And it is urgent.
Now, during Davos, we did see a whole range of initiatives signed in areas like climate change, recycling, health, training. Those are concrete commitments from public and private sectors that were signed here during the World Economic Forum. Of course, the debate over the utility of this event will go on, as it does every year. It does still draw a big crowd, though, those top names from the worlds of politics and the worlds of business as well. This was the 49th World Economic Forum in Davos. I can be quite sure these people will be back for the 50th one.
All right, and we'll be talking about the takeaway from Davos with our panel in the world this week. Stephen Carroll, many thanks for joining us there from the World Economic Forum.